Good evening, all. Welcome back to DAS TV. Delighted this evening. Hope you're all having a happy Sunday fun day first and foremost. Delighted to be joined this evening by Fozi from LFC Red Forever and by Kev O'Sullivan, another Irish man from Cork. It's great to have you on, Kev. Also, just be doing a lot of content with the LFC Day Trippers and countdown to kick-off. And I think you might be on as well this evening, are you, Kev?
Yeah, I'm on tonight as well. Can't wait to get into it. I'll break the cans out for later. If I start in the cans now, I'll be written off by the time I'll be going on with Gavin later on. Like, you'll have my guts regardless.
So absolutely,
I'm on the coffee for now.
Love to see that, Kev. Yeah, that'll keep you going for a bit. But lads, I suppose yesterday's game, 5:30, back under the floodlights at Anfield. Obviously, the winter nights and late kickoffs for Liverpool we seem to just relish. First came back after the international break. Before the international break, we had two really disappointing league results, particularly at West Ham. We'd no intensity, urgency, energy. It looked like we were the side that had went halfway around the world to play in the Europa League the Thursday night. There was no excuses against West Ham. It wasn't about not having the depth, not having a genie replacement, not spending the money. There was no excuses. The lads, just for me, were off it. Alisson, Howlers, defensively we were poor. And West Ham exploit their game plan was brilliant, and they were able to expose it brilliantly against us, and we just didn't do it, and there was no excuse. We weren't good enough. International break came, a couple of injuries. We'll start with you, Kev. We had a couple of injuries, Mane, Henderson, a couple of scares, Robbo. Turns out it wasn't as bad as expected or what the media had stored it. But we had Robbo out, Simicast comes in. I thought it done really well when needed. I thought yesterday, again, phenomenal. And they're showing real stern competition there at fullback, which, look, competition's great, keep players in the post. What's your view of yesterday's game, Kev? Obviously, a big win, 4 goals, clean sheet.
I look at it and I think, yeah, fantastic, 4-0, clean sheet, delighted with it, with the result and the performance. I'm kind of person, and I'd never get too big up after a huge win like that, and I never get down after a performance like we had against West Ham, because the truth is always somewhere in the middle. Arsenal were so bad, so tailor-made for us yesterday that they never learned from their previous visits, and it was a shocking performance from Arteta. His tactics were so childish and so inept that it played right into our hands. I think Match of the Day exposed it really well last night on their highlights package when they showed our press from a panned out camera. And every time Arsenal have one pattern of play to play it out. And once we clicked on it and the fans were up, it was never on. They got through the press once in one serious way over the whole 90 minutes. The rest of the time, we were playing the second half in their half, purely and simply because we kept winning the ball back so easily. So, I mean, this is why I look at it and think, yeah, it was 4-0, and it could have been 7 or 8. But at the same time, we were allowed to be that good because they were that bad.
Yeah, form is temporary, class is permanent, isn't it? Because they came in unbeaten in 10 games. They drew against 2 half-decent sides in Brighton and Palace, and then the one big team they play, they were dismantled.
Yeah, but the other side of it is the size that they beat, the likes of Leicester, and that they've been since seen to be poor. Leicester are in a poor run of form, and some of the wins look good on paper, but when you stand back with a bit of hindsight, 4 or 5 games after they've won, you look, those are games you really should be winning, and we're going into that kind of a run now as well, playing games against sides that we really need to be winning. And, there's no point in getting carried away with these big wins. Arsenal, I think, will probably, when the season's all done and dusted, they'll be thankful for not being in Europe, because I think they'll get top 6. Because they're not a bad side. They were just tactically naive yesterday. Any side that comes to Anfield and plays out from the back like that, you're inviting pressure on from the best pressing front 6 that are out there anywhere in Europe, because we're so organised in it. And it wasn't just the first press, it was the second and the third. It was players running it. We might get into the goals later on, but the last goal where it was Jota's goal, where Trent literally just marshalled him into an area where his only pass was to make a miss pass.
Yeah,
Do you know,
and
that kind of way.
Carragher, I think it was Carragher said it yesterday, are either really stupid or brave coming to Anfield and shouting up the
But
way
you
Arsenal
can
did.
be both. But I think
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
stupid when you don't change.
yeah.
I
Big
think
shout
it's
out there to Conroy Talks, big up guys, some result absolutely, and to Doug, Out Football Channel, what a victory yesterday, big up Darren, big up to you too, the two lads from Scotland now are in the comments, and we'll have Conroy Talks on this week, listening to some of his story as to why he supports Liverpool, how he got involved in YouTube, behind the channel, that, so tune in for that. We just have to agree on a day and time, but we'll definitely get Conroy on for that. Big shout out, brother, and to Doug as well for coming in. Fozi, Kev makes some great points there, and Trio as well, sums it up really in a nutshell about Liverpool but particularly Arsenal yesterday, how naive they were. What's your take on yesterday and your overall view on Liverpool beating Arsenal?
If you look at the first moments of the game, like Arsenal, like they were playing their own game. They looked like a threat. Like in the first 37 minutes, like I thought that they would cause damage towards us, but I think after that we started playing our own game and then understanding how they work. But don't forget about Arsenal, guys. Like Arsenal is a young team. They're up and coming. You know what I mean? I'm not expecting too much from them at the moment. And there was a lot of baggage around them. A lot of people were saying they're gonna beat Liverpool probably by 2-1 or 2-0 or something like that. But Liverpool are just at the moment we're in a place like we're hot and cold. We haven't figured that ourselves yet. And I'd rather like this happen in the first 11 games, like the 12, for us to understand how we're gonna be as a unit. So now, from what I've gathered of this game as it went along, is like now Thiago back is in the middle. We look like we're more of a force than we was before, right? Because before we was like putting young Curtis Jones and other players in those positions, and as the senior players are coming back into the team, I think we're going to be more of a force and more of a threat in the Premier League as well. Did I at first about this game I had my doubts, but as the game went along, it showed like Liverpool is slowly coming back to what they were before. And what I need now is us having a consistent run, like probably 10 games. At the 10, probably win 8 or something like that for us to compete with Chelsea, because Chelsea are consistent in the league so far. Man City won today, and we need to just show the people that we're back. Because if you look at our team from the season, we lost the league by 1 point. When these players were together, if you exclude this season, we've only lost 4 games. If you know what I mean. Forget about last season. I'm talking about when these players were together, like Van Dijk, the Matips, and etc. Yeah. They've only lost 4 games. So it shows when these players are together, we can be a force. And they hardly lose, guys. They hardly lose. People need to give them credit for that. Yes, we draw a lot of games, but we hardly lose. And we're gonna be back. I think this season, I've said it in the beginning of the season, we're gonna win the league. I'll stick by that. I think Chelsea's going to drop off at some stage of the season as well.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully they're flying as well at the moment, and obviously they're on top. Ryan, I'm going to add in now. Ryan, just going to take you out, and then we'll get on. Ryan's a United fan. When we get on to United, then I'll add you in, buddy, if that's all right. We'll get him back in there. Sorry, I don't know what happened. So midfield yesterday, a lot of big games are won and lost in midfield, but Liverpool's midfield, Ox comes in, no Naby, no Curtis, no Elliott, Hendo's on the bench. A couple of people might have raised an eyebrow to that, but he was very good yesterday, wasn't he? Kev, Ox and Thiago in there with Fabinho as well.
Yeah, you could look back at, there was one incident when Arsenal had the 1/2 chance that Virgil got dragged out onto the left, and Ox tracked, I think it was Saka, into the middle and made a clearance from about 3 yards that Virgil ended up clearing for a throw-in. That was about the only real threat that Arsenal posed in that first 20 minutes. We contained them pretty well. I thought the midfield 3 had a bit of everything. You have your steel and sturdiness that Fabinho offers. You have the technician that Thiago offers you with possession play. And Ox gives you that dynamism, that X factor. And the more that he plays, the more confident he gets, the more he trusts himself, the more he trusts his body.
Yeah.
It's still a thing. It's always got to be a thing with him in the back of his mind. And look, I don't expect 9 out of 10 performances out of Ox. I just expect when he gets his chance that he does something with it. And I thought the midfield three each one offered different things, and it was all things that created a beautiful balance in the middle of the park that we need. I think Curtis offers that as well, but I think when you have the experience of the senior pros in with a younger player learning his trade and what have you, you're fine. I'm fine with that. My problem is always going to be when it's one and two younger lads, like when it's Curtis and Ox plus one other. That throws the balance out a bit. But as it was yesterday, I was delighted with it. You know, the 11 picked itself, really. You know, once we found out that Hendo wasn't training with the 11, the starting lineup picked itself. There was no other options, really.
Yeah.
So
and they conducted themselves brilliantly, didn't they? The midfield, particularly Fabinho's tackle, crunching on the halfway line, phenomenal to get back. Yeah, he's the general, isn't he? Archie Doolan, shout out there, brother. All right, that's great win. We're good, better than Kev is saying. Big respect, Kev, but they will go deep down this season. Mane on Tsimikas on fire. Tsimikas brilliant. Hendo and Minamino just say great all round. Absolutely, Archie. Yeah, and I know. Not everyone will agree with what we're saying, but I know where Kev's coming from as well. Yeah, you just felt Arsenal. Look, I'll give you an example. Arsenal came to Anfield. It was 2, maybe 3 seasons ago now in the League Cup. They scored 5 goals and they still didn't win. And to me, that's Arsenal. You know, I think they're unbeaten in 10 games. They've no European competition. They haven't had many injuries. They reverted back to a back four with White and Gabriel centre back, which they've been more composed and compact. But there's probably too many people waxing lyrics about Arsenal coming into this, because I don't rate them at all. I think at best they'll get 6 this season, or Arteta. But look, for the force, I suppose, up until that bit of a dig at the sideline, a bit of a chinwag with Klopp and Arteta, that really got the crowd going. It kind of added a bit to it. It was going a little bit flat before that. But Mane, I mean, Ramsdale keeps them in it before that, and Mane gets his goal, takes it brilliantly. And what I liked yesterday was Kev and Fozi, Mane, he'd aggression back, he'd hunger back, you know. It's what you want to see from him. We want to see what our players trying to wind him up, trying to get at him. And that's when he's at his best, I believe. And there's too much last season of not seeing that from Mane. Apart from he didn't score goals, that didn't contribute enough, I didn't see that hunger or aggression for big periods last season. He's shown more of it this season. He's getting in amongst the assists and he's getting in amongst the goals.
There's too much focus on last season. I honestly think we shouldn't even focus about last season.
True,
we need to get
absolutely.
There's a bubbling issue there with Sadio. He's got 18 months left on his deal.
That's right. I've seen that.
Everyone is talking about more, rightly so. We're going to get that one wrapped up. I mean, go back to what Archie said there quickly for 1 second. I think Arsenal are a good side. I think they will be a good side in a couple of years' time. But Arteta didn't learn from previous visits. He didn't learn from other managers' games when they've tried to come to Anfield and play out from the back. That's naive. I thought Tomiyasu did really well on Sadio for the first 20 minutes. And then Arteta decided to wind Klopp up, which in turn wound Naby up, which is like, did you not see Frank Lampard and what the end result of that conversation happens?
And Pep.
You just get clapped. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a good point, Kev. Trent was brilliant yesterday, wasn't he, lads? 2 assists. I think that's 50 now. He was dominant. He could have had a great goal yesterday, only with Ramsdale, great save, but he's grown in stature. I mean, and without touching on, I know you said, Fuzzy, don't touch on much of last season, but the criticism, not getting involved for things, and look, none of that bothers me. It's international football, it's Southgate. Klopp came out and just had a couple of lines to say, how can you leave the best full-back in the world out or playing in midfield? And he was phenomenal yesterday, wasn't he, Fuzzy? What did you make of Trent?
Listen, Trent is the best right back in the world. You know what I mean? The thing with Trent is, if he wasn't playing for Liverpool, he was playing for like a Real Madrid or Barcelona, people would be raving about him. Let's just be honest there. You know what I mean? Because he plays with Liverpool, he's downgraded. The kid, what people focus on about him is the defensive side. But why do you need to defend when you got Van Dijk and Matip at the back? You know what I mean? You can create goals and create chances for the team. So with me, he's unique. I've seen a lot of right backs in my time, like Cafu's of this world and Alves of this world, but I've never seen them do what Trent does. And I think, in my opinion, guys, I think he's downgraded a lot. In my opinion, anyway. For what he does is phenomenal. He's phenomenal, and the way he created the goals yesterday shows like he's class above everyone else. And if Southgate doesn't want that in the team, that's down to him. But we get the rest in it. He's not going to catch injuries, so he's going to come back to Liverpool fully fit all the time. So listen, England is England. England always have their way of playing, and they like that, different kind of football to the rest of the world, and that's what they stick by. To be fair, mate.
Kev, what's your take, Trent?
He was very good. There is a part of his game that needs work. There's no doubt about it, and there's no point in shying away from it. And it's not something that is a big problem, but he can get caught out on deep crosses. He's not as good as he could be, or as good as he will be by the time he matures into a proper senior pro. He's still learning his trade.
Yeah.
I watched the West Ham game, and the third goal, for the corner, he had a clear sight of that cross coming in. He watched it all the way. He's got to do more to be there. But saying that, going the other way, listen, he's
more effective, isn't he, going forward?
He attacks in a right attacking mid role.
Yeah.
If you were playing FIFA, he would be your RAM, your right attacking mid, while defending as a right back. It's unheard of. There's probably Bayern are maybe the only side that I've ever seen use a fullback in that way. Pep kind of is doing it with Cancelo, the way Cancelo cuts in onto his stronger side and tucks into midfield. But you have to be exceptionally good to do both, and he is. He is exceptionally good. You nitpick at Trent because
that's a problem,
he is that good.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That's true. And, and he's still learning. He's only
still learning.
22, guys. He's only 22.
I remember the first time I ever saw him was in the Audi Cup against Bayern Munich, and I was watching. It was on LFC TV, and I was watching it. I was like, "Who's this kid? Never seen him before." Because I didn't watch the academy stuff. So I was like, he's up against Ribery, and I'm like, "Here you go. We'll find out about this kid by the end of the game." He took Ribery off in 70 minutes, and we won.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Kev. That's a good shout out.
I was like, I was like that. I was gobsmacked. Because Klein was the standout right back at the club at the time, and I didn't think he was for shifting. He was solid, dependable, 7 out of 10. Nothing wrong with that. You need a back four with your solid 7 out of 10 guys. And I seen this kid. I was like, if he develops anywhere near half as good as I think he could be, we're quids in here. And here we are. Can you imagine now? Klopp turning around, go and replace him. Go and buy a replacement for him. Your pockets are never that deep. Who are you selling? How many?
Yeah,
I think every team in the Premiership would have him.
And look, it's not slight on Reece James. Reece James is a very, very good player, but I see Reece James as a right midfielder.
Yeah,
I don't see him as a fullback. I think he's a right mid.
About the fullback position. Tsimikas comes in yesterday. We all wax lyrics just there about Trent, 2 assists, cut out of goals, phenomenal yesterday, so dominant. But Tsimikas, lads, he's played 6 minutes last season in the league. Didn't see much of him. We knew how good he was. I remember watching him from Olympiacos up against Traore when they played in the thing. We were going in for the young lad off. It was Norwich, the Northern Ireland lad, and it didn't happen. And then Tsimikas comes in.
Lewis,
Jamal Lewis.
Jamal
and
Lewis.
then we bring in Tsimikas. Doesn't play much because Robbo was exceptional. He was so good, and you're not going to drop him. Too many games are big. He's really given competition there to Robbo, isn't he, Kev? I mean, he's serious fullback.
He's forced Klopp into a decision, which is all you can ask of any squad player. You know what I mean? That's all you can do. Force the manager to make a decision. And there will be games. Klopp trusts Robbo, rightly so. Robbo's earned the manager's trust.
Yeah.
But Tsimikas is doing absolutely nothing wrong when he plays. So I did the pre-show yesterday with Conroy. We both looked at the 11. Oh, Tsimikas playing. All right, cool. Next. Do you know what I mean? We didn't even give it an eyelid because it's not something that would cross your mind now. You trust him implicitly when he's playing. He offers you so much going wide. His decision making is very good, and his ability off the ball, I think, his reading of the game is getting better and better and better, and that will come more in an attacking threat when he starts pressing from the halfway line up.
Confidence,
yeah. with playing, and the more he plays with better players,
Yeah.
the better he's going to get. And he's another one. He's not, in his late 20s.
Yeah.
He's going to be around for a good while.
Yeah,
and long may that continue. And in fairness, it's something Robert definitely needed to be taken out of the firing line.
Yeah, 100%.
With the injury, it's not an injury. With what he came off with Scotland was pure and utter muscle tiredness. Conroy, me and Conroy were talking about it, and Conroy was saying to me, "Look, he's Scotland captain. That brings its own intensity. You're playing for Liverpool. That brings its own levels. You've been playing at high intensity football for 3 years straight. You need taken out of the firing line for your own good.
Don't forget last season he had to be the captain of that defense. That long season.
The makeshift.
Yeah, man, it was a long season for him as well, and he hasn't missed a game. You know what I mean? So sometimes the downfall could be because of him. You know what I mean? He just wants to play. He doesn't want to be one of those players that sits on the bench and collects money. So that's the downside for Robertson. But he needs a rest.
It won't do him any harm.
Yeah, it won't do him any harm. We already know he's the number one left back.
And we've seen it with Sadio when Klopp took Sadio out of the firing line for those 10 days. Now we're seeing the benefits of it.
Exactly.
Just a shout out there to Ryan LFC. Big up, guys. He just reached 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Really good. Big shout out, brother, and congratulations. Ryan, we have coming in this evening. Ryan, how's things, mate? Just before we get going. Ryan's obviously a United fan. Obviously, big news broke today. Solskjaer sacked, the inevitable. Look, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, Ryan. It was going to happen. I know you were all for it as soon as some couple of decisions and results went AWOL. And look, there was just everything from top to bottom was really poor. Look, we're not going to touch on this too much, but a bit, because obviously it's a story of today. 450 million, over 450 million spent from Solskjaer, huge money. Had a big recruitment in the summer, strengthened in positions that needed to be, centre back, midfield, another attacking midfielder, and then Ronaldo. We was going to obviously use a forward player, but not just bringing in Ronaldo at 36 years of age. It was obviously to not have Man City sign him, and to bring in someone that was going to develop the likes of Greenwood, Rashford, do a lot, so much off the field as well. And look, we have to respect them. What you make of today's news, Ryan? Solskjaer gone. Obviously, you're not surprised, but what do you make, and who's next, in your opinion? Just
look, I think how's things, lads? How are you?
All good, man. All good.
All good, mate.
I think it's not surprising. I think every United fan in the club wanted Solskjaer to do well, and maybe that's why it took so long in keeping him there, not making that decision. And I do think he done his best, but I don't think he was able to manage the team that was there, and some of the decisions were questionable. I mean, even in the game yesterday, when Dalot came off, he did when Shaw came off, instead of putting Tellez on, Dalot comes on when you're losing 3-1 to Watford. I just think decisions like that, they make you. But at the moment, what's the decision now to put Carrick in for a few games and wait for an interim? I still don't know where the club. I think the club knows where it's going, but who's there also? I think, at the end of last season, was he warranted a 3-year contract when United lost the Europa League final? Mm-hmm. They also got lost to Liverpool, got drew at Fulham, and got beaten by Leicester within the space of a few weeks. So it kind of United started to fall last year under the radar. So the pressure really heaped on this year. Mm-hmm. He was given a 3-year contract.
And I mean, Solskjaer, look, he's a club legend, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
If United board offer you a job tomorrow, Ryan, you're going to take it as a United fan and try and do your best. So, I mean, you can get slate Solskjaer all you want, but the decisions at the club, I mean, were probably it was enabling, wasn't it? And I mean, there was a lot even in the media that never really turned around. Probably apart from Scholes that kind of said, look, it's a task too big, it's not going to happen. A lot of people were still riding on the wave of emotion that he could do it, he could turn it around. Kev, what's your take on it? Obviously, it's huge news, and look, we all know it's going to happen. There's no point in us thinking it's the price. What do you think on it?
I thought it was absolutely cruel what they did to him yesterday. Yeah, he didn't deserve that. And I don't blame the fans. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not Manchester United's problem. The manager, the coaching staff is not the problem. The problem is above his head. Who decided to sign Ronaldo? Who decided to do a Twitter poll more or less and say, I'm gonna do a popularity contest and sign players by what their social media profile looks like and what fans want. There's no structure to how they've bought players over the last 4 years. They're in a worse position now than they were when Moyes left.
Yeah,
the squad is a joke. Maguire's a joke. He's not a centre half. He's an absolute codology. Luke Shaw's had 6 good months, and suddenly he's better than Robbo. Give me a break. Wan-Bissaka's regressed. De Gea is a good shot stopper, but up until this season hasn't stopped a penalty in God knows how long. Ronaldo's past it.
Yeah.
Cavani's injury prone. Their midfield is non-existent. Matic played yesterday. Matic hasn't been good for 4 years. Do you know?
Well, the midfield, I think Van de Beek is probably the best. Is a really good midfielder. I don't know what you think.
Get again.
You can't get again.
This is why I look at Manchester United, and I don't take them seriously as a threat to a title. Purely and simply, forget rivalry now for a second. I got a lot of family.
Yeah, no, because I do want to forget about rivalry for a second. Because
no, but I got a lot of family and friends who are Manchester United fans and have been for donkey's years, and they've often tell me, look at the midfield they're putting out. There's no pace. There's no structure to it. There's no plan. There's no plan above Solskjaer's head. How do you want this team to play? Then you buy to that structure. Look at us. Look at Chelsea. Chelsea buy players to play within a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3 system. Man City buy to play within 4-3-3. We do the same. We buy players who can press the ball. We don't buy luxuries because we can't afford it. We can't afford to make a mistake. And then you look at what Manchester United have done for the last 4 or 5 years in the transfer window. Varane is a good centre-back. Varane's not a leader. Varane was brilliant when Sergio Ramos led the line.
Yeah. And he's injury-prone as well.
And he's going to pick up knocks. Yeah. But I look at Manchester United's 11. Mason Greenwood, to me, is probably, with Phil Foden, one of the best young players I've seen England produce in 20 years. He's going to be a phenomenal player. He's
Greenwood or highly rate. I think he's a phenomenal.
He's stuck on the right wing. Rashford's stuck on the left wing. Neither are those players. You know, you're almost shoehorning players into positions just to get them on a team sheet and hope something works.
Kev, I don't know about you, but I thought this summer's transfer window wasn't even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's transfer window. No. I thought they forced some players on him, bro. I honestly think that. Yeah. I don't think he wanted any of those players that came in.
He can't have.
So where do you? So obviously, look, Ryan, I think you're probably in agreement with the lads are saying. So who do you think's going to come in next, and what's the next move, or is it just? Do other things need to be fixed at the club before appointing a manager? Like, I mean, we know the fans are obviously against the Glazers with the protests. We know the Glazers have looked. They've given a lot of money. To be fair, you know, Mourinho's had a lot of money. Van Gaal's had money. Moyes had money at the time. Although when Moyes went in, he probably could have been given longer. Because look, you see what he's doing now at West Ham. It's a little bit jinxed at the moment, isn't it? What's going on at United? And look, I'm taking emotion out of this. It's not having a go at United, not like that. Because look, I support Liverpool, and because on United happens, it's just this is a story of the day, and we said we bring it up and get you on. What do you think of it now? Who's next, and what happens?
That's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter who comes in when it's the way the club is. Like, as well, as he said, was it in the previous one? Mourinho was thrown under the bus. Well, what he said was, what was it, his best achievement was finishing second with the United team.
That's
the route never changed. Woodward left, but the decisions are still up to the club, and I agree. Solskjaer acts like Ronaldo's there, but Sancho's there, but it doesn't look like that was his team. Nope. It doesn't look like that was the team he was going to pick. And going forward, if that route's still there, what decisions are going to be made? You know, I think Chelsea at the moment, like, Tuchel's actually making them decisions, but before that, Chelsea were all over the place as well.
Yeah,
it looks like Tuchel's making them decisions. Like, and I think United have to follow suit in terms of who to get in next. But don't get the whole interim thing. But if no one's going to come up, well, big decisions have to be made, and they have to let the manager be. Like, even Ferguson's having too much of a say at the moment, I think.
Well, going back to that, right? And look, Ryan, you were on tonight, and it's not about. We've had a bit of banter on the side about United. You're a United fan, respect, and then you've bigged up Liverpool, and you say it as it is. And you've also said, look at what's going on at Liverpool, it's great, and you've been frustrated, I suppose, at United, but what does like
what is going on?
Fergie came in apparently, and I don't know, Kev, you might know a bit more of this. I know you have a good insight, but Fergie apparently done a team talk once as well, coming out to defend Solskjaer, and I think it might have been a big game against Liverpool. I can't remember the ins and outs, but I know there was something that happened.
I think it might have been after the Liverpool game where he went into bat for him with the board.
Yeah.
But for me, what needs to happen at Manchester United is you go out and get Edwin van der Sar in as your director of football, and he runs football operations from top down. He then goes and appoints a manager, and then he appoints the under-23 manager and the under-18 manager, and you start playing football the way he wants football played. And it's a long-term project. It's not something that you throw money at it. You throw the right money at it. Then, maybe, in 2 or 3 years' time, Manchester United might be challenging to get into the top 3. Until then, they're just going to be a cash cow for some club on the continent. That's all they are.
Yeah, and I know, and this is Kev being honest about it. It's not Kev.
I'm not bashing United, far from it.
It is, yeah. No. And look, we've been on before in our low points. I remember some awful teams at Liverpool, some awful decisions being made, and you've said it as it is and called it as it is. I remember Roy Hodgson, the picture with was it Harry Wilson and not with Harry Wilson, with Wilson, the young lad we signed from Rangers, and it was with Joe Cole, and you know they were awful times. And there's a name going around, Smile, it could be worse. You know what I mean? Like that's how bad things were for us. So like
we've been there. This is what I mean.
Yeah, we've been there for years.
Where they are.
Yeah.
And we know how this show plays out. Eventually, they'll get it right. Yeah, but they're going to go through pain before they get it right. And unless they're willing to ditch the likes of Neville and Rio Ferdinand and stop listening to those type of people and start listening to real football people within the game, they're doomed to keep making the same mistakes. The idea that they allowed Paul Pogba to still be at the club with Mino Raiola deciding when he leaves and when he doesn't leave. You invite a Fox into the in-house and he'll run the show. You invite Mino Raiola into your club, he will decide your transfer policy for the next 5 years. Yeah. You know?
And it's interesting, Yeah, the lessons do need to learn, but it's interesting saying that, Kev, because it's like there's serious money being spent at United. And it's like, I mean, what next? They obviously have to change everything. Is the recruitment as well? Like, I mean, and you go back to there talking about Neville in the press and others. And I listened to TalkSport a while ago, and Simon Jordan made a good point saying that there's people in the media that are advocating for Solskjaer. So, like, it's not his fault that they're putting him in a bad position because they're still big enough saying he'll do a job. And obviously, if he's starting voices around him, he'll still think he's a chance. No one's actually come out and says, look at this, probably apart from Scholes, maybe. But that's really it, isn't it, Ryan? That's...
Sorry, I was going to say, the thing is, it's not... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
All I was going to say is, look, it's not losing games. We can clap anyone 5-0, right?
Yeah.
It's the manner that United are losing games.
There's no heart in the team.
Yeah, it's the manner that they've been losing games for a sustained period of time. If people in running a football club can't see that, then the problems are a lot deeper than a lot of fans are willing to accept. I think there's some fans who can see the wood through the trees, but there's still a lot of people that think that bringing in Zinedine Zidane is going to fix it all. I think you might get a couple of results and things might look rosy for a while.
Yep.
But the weed whacker will come out pretty quick.
Okay, what they need is a builder. They need a builder from the bottom all the
Den
way.
Hag
Ten Hag. That's it. Yeah, someone like that can actually get them to where they want. But the thing
they need
is,
a director of football as well.
Yeah, of course. But the thing, what they need the most is patience. If the fans have patience, I think they'll be fine. You know, with us, we've waited 30 years. We've just given up. You know what I mean, when Klopp came through the door, we believed.
Well, we could see the project. We could see the progress from day one. What Klopp was making. That's why we knew that this would where we are was going to happen. We knew that we were going to get there, but we could see it game by game the progress that was being made. That's what they need to see. Man United fans know that when they see something that's right, they'll get right behind it.
But the thing is, Kev, the problem with Man United at the moment is like it's not a team; it's a team full of individuals, and there's too much egos in that team. So this is going to continue for a while unless, this new manager gets rid of a lot of players in that team. That's what they need to do.
That's a difficult job in itself.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. We faced it. We know about it. So we faced it a lot of times.
Pochettino is a name linked heavily. What do you think there? Ryan, what do you think, Pochettino? Do you think that'll happen, or is it just pure speculation? Because he's at PSG, the chances are he'll win stuff there. Is he gonna? But I believe, and this is me personally, I still think he's unfinished business in the Premier League after Spurs, and I do think he's done as well and as far as he could at Spurs. And I also think, look, PSG is really a challenge, is it competitive enough for Poch to be amongst the elite? Because he's not amongst the elite yet, but he's definitely potential for me. What do you think, Ryan?
I think that's nearly like for like, isn't it, in terms of coming in, good man manager, but when it comes down to it, will he get results? Exactly. I know he's doing well at PSG at the moment, but if he doesn't get results in Champions League, then it's likely. I actually think I see Zidane there in a few months, but I don't know. Don't know who you will get in, but as the points have been made, it is the root of the club. Everything's wrong. It wasn't just Solskjaer. It was the players. I don't know who you get in to sort that out, but it has to be from the top down. It has to be on sync.
It needs to build that, doesn't it?
You have players looking at each other yesterday. Who do we blame? There was no one to blame except everyone. It's just the manager obviously gets the stick for it.
Yeah, you can't set the players.
But like Bruno, Harry, that's very poor yesterday. Shaw, as I said, as someone said, he's only had 6 good months in 7 seasons, and that's correct. So they were never that was never looked at. They were just led to go on, and things got worse and worse and worse. The club just look at Instagram, just more of a franchise. So it needs to really sit down and look at who we get in. And they don't
their biggest problem is they're going to look for, and they will get, a yes man. And there's no bigger yes man than Brendan Rodgers.
Oh my God.
I think Pochettino is a bit of one as well.
No, I think Poch has one eye on Klopp when Klopp goes. I think he knows that if he takes the United job, he's finished. He'll never get the Liverpool job. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he fancies staying at PSG for a couple of years, do well there, imprint his ideas on PSG, get Mbappe out the door, settle a side down around the players that he's got left, and then maybe look at the Liverpool job in 2024.
Will you take him, Kev? With open arms?
I don't know. I know that in 2021 it's a decision. In 2024, we'll see. I haven't a clue.
Yeah,
and anyone who said they do, yeah, you're a liar. Shut up. You don't know.
A shout in there, actually, dude, and look forward to hearing from Ryan. Carrick at the wheel. Kev, honestly, where do you see Liverpool at the end of the season? So, Ryan, we'll start with you, as I said you first. Carrick at the wheel, obviously that's only temporary, isn't it? For till probably Christmas, New Year, do you think?
Well, I'm not going to do a real Ferdinand on it here.
Yeah.
That backfire. Come here, Carrick's quiet. He's very similar, like in terms of will he make decisions that need to be made? Will he drop players that need to be made? Will he put in a formation that's going to be different? Give players a chance. Like Van de Beek got a chance yesterday because all they knew this was coming to the end, and he was our best player. I couldn't believe it. He was excellent. I enjoyed that. No, I didn't enjoy anything else. Just watched Donny Van de Beek, not the scoreline. But that's, I don't know. Like if he does well, it's still going to have to look to someone else. Hopefully it doesn't steadies it a bit. But looking further, it needs to be someone with more experience, more will to change the team, change the attitudes.
What do you think, Kev? Liverpool at the end of the season, as it says in there?
I think we'll be in the conversation. In the last 5 games of the season, we'll be in the conversation. We're good enough to win it? Don't know. We'll give ourselves the best chance. January's could sting a bit. But yeah, it could sting a bit, but it's not just going to sting us. Chelsea got to be without Mendy there, so that's Azpilicueta in goal for a few games. Who knows? I think if we're in touching distance in the last 5 games, there's a good chance we'll win it. If we're in touching distance in the last 5 games. Yeah. There's so many ifs and buts and maybes. I watched City today, and you know what? After an hour, I can't watch them.
They bored the game.
They bored the bejesus out of me. And Chelsea are so rigid that, they'll win more. They're very metronomic, but Tuchel is very.
This is new to Tuchel though as well, isn't it? This league and
Tuchel,
a lot of these players.
Yeah, that's right. Tuchel is very intense as a manager, and he's very intense on his players, and that's what got PSG's back up. And he's crossed dressing rooms before, and as this Chelsea dressing room has shown, it doesn't take much for them to down tools. They've done it before. I'm not saying that's what we need for them to happen, but they haven't gone through a rocky patch yet. No, and they will. Every side does.
And how they'll bounce back, isn't it, as well?
Exactly.
Fozi, what do you think? Where do you think Liverpool will finish?
I said in the beginning of the season we're going to win the league. It just depends on the consistency, and it depends on if these players stay fit as well. So we need them to stay fit. I hope we get something in January, like another midfielder or something along those lines, just to plug those holes we got. And as long as Chelsea doesn't get away from us, and like Kev said, and we're touching distance, I think we'll be all right. I think we could probably pull it back near the end of the season and clinch it. That's what I think in a way. Yeah. It just depends on this team if they stay fit. That's all I'm looking for.
Well, my take on it was at the start of the season we only bring in one player. There was a lot we remember about FSG and transfers and not signing genie replacements. And I said at the time, and honestly, brutal honest opinion was, if we can be in a title race right up until the end, be thereabouts, and if we can compete the Champions League more than we did last season, because to be honest, when it came around to Real Madrid, they skilled us, we just didn't show up for it. If we can do better than we did last season in the Champions League, do a lot better than what we done in the league, and possibly win a cup, I would have been really happy. Yeah. I haven't really changed my views on that yet, and I know it's still early in the season, and we did drop points at Brighton, West Ham away, so they haven't given me a lot more hope. But we never know. It's going to be interesting when Chelsea do go through a patch, how they come back. And City can't really afford to go through another patch, I don't think, because they haven't been bang on it this season. And they also went to Chelsea, deservedly won, kept a clean sheet. So that just shows Chelsea are not unbelievable either. But it's a 3-horse race, I believe. It's just who's the one that comes out of that, and how far does this title race go is another.
And the thing is, we know that City are capable of putting 10, 12 games winning streak together. Yeah. And they're quite happy winning games 2-0. Yeah. They'll win. They'll get 2-0 up and they'll keep the ball, and they'll bore you into a mistake. They've shown that they're very, very skimpy. They don't concede many. Chelsea don't concede many. But I honestly think that Chelsea are a better side without Lukaku in their starting 11. I think they're more fluid.
Yeah. I'm a Chelsea fan myself. Yeah, I thought that was a bit mad.
I said at the start of the season, Romelu Lukaku is not a very good footballer. Romelu Lukaku is a very good goal scorer. Yeah. There's a difference. And if you're playing Chelsea's 3-4-2-1, having a number 9 who's rigid and who just finishes, it stifles other parts of the pitch. They'll have to work around it because he's going to have to play. I think losing Giroud and Tammy Abraham and just replacing him with one was a gamble, especially when you're looking at Pulisic, is his fitness. Odoi has wanted the exit door for a fair while. We don't know how he's going to react to January, but for us in January, we've space in the squad since Shaq left for one signing that doesn't affect anything. That has to be filled. We have to bring someone in January. I don't expect someone to come in January and start in January because you look at how we played yesterday, you look at the pressing maps of us yesterday, that takes a long time to learn how to do that as a forward player or a midfielder. But someone to come in and lighten the load. You don't have to be going out spending 60, 70, 80 million.
Would you take
someone
Basuma?
To come in and light the load?
Would you take Basuma?
This is what I mean about you don't have to go out and break the bank to find those kind of players. I'd go and sign Dennis Zakaria because he's got 6 months left in his contract. Swiss international, good 6'3" holding mid, solid footballer who can come in and who can come in and learn his trade and cover and do a job when need be. And you could get him for a quarter of the price of what you get Basuma. And I don't think there's much difference in quality. I think,
and it's strange that no one's went in for Basuma, isn't it? Is that something to worry about?
That's what worries me because we pulled out a deal for Saul, and when you look at it, we were right. his personality just doesn't work.
Well, Ryan only said that last week, actually, one of his flops this season, and he looked, I suppose, a bit harsh because he hasn't played much Saul, because he hasn't probably done enough to get into the team, or even, he's been another, hasn't he? That's
settling into a new country. Some players, and we saw it with Iago Aspas. Iago Aspas is a phenomenal striker in Spain.
Yeah,
he went back to Spain and he is ripping it up again every year. He's well into double figures. He's a really good forward. Some players are homebirds, and maybe we saw that in the profiling that we did on Saul, and decided, he's just not worth the fee.
His wages were high, I think, as well.
Chelsea took the punt.
Yeah, 250, man.
Yeah,
350. Yeah, a lot of money. Ryan, if you had one manager to pick now, obviously, I think it looks like it might even be the end of the season. So in the summer, it's easier to get managers then that'll come in, start a new project, probably in June, whatever else. There's no internationals on this summer because we know the World Cup, mad decision to be in December. Who are you bringing in for United? Even someone that's at a club now and you don't see them leaving. Who would be the two managers you'd want? Or do you know? Because I know this is all new today,
I think the question is because we've had so many different ones in and names are thrown out. Like I would have said Zidane, but I don't think that would work. Luis Enrique's been thrown out.
Not a hope now.
No.
Yeah. I don't know if he'd be good.
What
about this lad off the Ajax manager? Is it? Or was it?
Ten Hag. Yeah.
And I don't think he'd walk away from their project either. I mean, has anyone dusted off the gravy boat? Where's Fat Sam these days? I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Well, he brings some stability, wouldn't he? But short term. But come here,
I love Pochettino's football style. But could he go on and could he bring United further? That's the question. Would he even leave to go to United? But I do love his style of play. But I don't know who's going to come in and manage them. Like man management wise, Zidane, I think the personalities he managed in Real Madrid and he won. He did the job. Madrid were all over the place.
Ryan, wouldn't you think that's like a short term thing with Zidane?
That's what I'm saying. Like it will only be short term. So.
Would Man City do it? If Italy don't qualify for Qatar, would Man City do it?
That's a good shout,
Former City, knows Manchester, knows the league,
knows the area, comfortable in the area. Did well with Italy.
Would he be short term as well, though?
Look, in fairness, you're not going to leave Michael Carrick in charge for the rest of the season.
No, and that's
as much as the Leeds would love you.
Yeah.
But
you look at this season though, like Vieira to Palace, Gerrard to Villa, Benitez to Everton. There's been some mad managerial appointments that if you'd have said it a few months ago where the managers are at now, you're not saying you wouldn't have believed it. Some if you look at that could work. But you just don't know who's going to win, and this could really store the pot with it all on who's going to be the next appointment. Look, I don't know. I haven't looked into too much who the names are. I have seen a couple of names like Enrique, Ryan, as you said. I've seen all sorts getting thrown around. But
I agree with Van der Sar, though. I agree with that. But that was shouted out earlier.
Yeah, because look, Van der Sar is an excellent director of football. He went off. I think he's got a degree in business and economics.
Yeah,
and he went off studying after he finished his playing career, and he's done his groundwork. He's done his groundwork in the Netherlands, and I don't think Ten Hag would walk out on Ajax in the middle of a season, especially a season. I think they'll do well in Europe, and they're flying in the league at the minute. And he doesn't see the other problem United have is managers these days don't need the money. You can't attract someone now with a paycheck because Ten Hag will get a top job anywhere. The other one that you could look at maybe is the Atalanta manager. Is it Gasperini?
Gasperini, yes, the Italian.
Yeah, maybe
good manager.
Good
manager.
Maybe he could be one that's looking for a change. That kind of manager, you can't leave Michael Carrick. It's not fair on him because as a coach, he's learning his trade as well in the same way as John Terry did at Aston Villa. Steven Gerrard learned his trade, went up to Scotland, learned his trade. Paddy Vieira went off to Canada and did his.
And he was in America as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
New York
as well. So
What about Brendan Rodgers? He's a name being thrown around a bit. He's left Celtic before halfway through a good project, and they all wanted the 10 in a row. The Celtic fans, you heard the songs, they were going to do the 10 in a row. Obviously, that got stopped, but a lot of them were disappointed he left. But if United come in, is Rodgers really going to turn down a chance of going back to another big club? Because let's be honest, Leicester, you said it will go, Kev, and think Fozi as well. They're not going to get top 4, and their chances. The last 2 seasons, they went to the last game of the season, and some say he bottled or whatever. But look, I think finishing 5th and winning an FA Cup was brilliant for Leicester. I really do. But
I think that's as good as they get.
Is he going to go? Would he go to United? I think realistically, I think it is a shout that he could do it, but I don't know about it happening until probably the new year or summer.
Like, he won't last. You know what I mean? If he goes to United, don't get me wrong. Like, he will change their style of play and all that stuff. But it's how long it could go on for, if you know what I mean. He's the moments manager, and he's a yes man, like Kev said. If he goes to United, there ain't gonna be any change. It's still gonna be the same, in my opinion, anyway. Like what you get with Ole and before that, and it's just gonna cave into the owners. What they need is a strong manager that doesn't take any BS, and who will put his psychologist side through to the players, like the way he thinks, and they will like walk through a wall for him. That's what they need in that club. I mean, not a guy who's a yes man who's going to accept everything the owners say to him and then implement it on the pitch, and then they'll be struggling in the league again. That's what's going to happen with Brendan Rodgers. We experienced it with Liverpool. We should have progressed after that season. We challenged for the title. We could make excuses with the players we bought, but we should have progressed. We bought Balotelli, you know what I mean? Players like that. That's a players that was thrown at him and he took it. You know what I mean?
Balotelli and
a true manager wouldn't take that.
Lambert.
There you go.
I remember that they were awful times.
A good manager wouldn't take that. That. There you go.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout out. Yeah, look, we didn't want to get into too much of any of it, but I suppose we did a bit into the managerial. But what about I'm going to throw another name out here, and I'm not going to keep going on much more. But Allegri, good manager, good profile,
very good manager. The thing is with him, you got to look at it. He's been out of football now for a long, long time. Is he similar to Jose Mourinho in the way that you were a very good manager in your day, but it's no longer your day? Do you know what I mean? I mean, Brendan could suffer from, go and lose 2 games on the bounce, and it's ex-Liverpool manager in charge of Man United, Brendan Rodgers. Allegri, was a very good manager, but I think football might have moved on a little bit past him. He's had so many offers to get back into the game and he's never taken them. Maybe he's looking at the Italian job at some point. I don't know. But I'd be surprised if it's not Brendan. Genuinely, I would be surprised if it wasn't Brendan. He's taken Leicester as far as he can. The squad at Leicester ain't as good as what it was. And Brendan, like he's proved at Celtic, will up sticks and move for Project Brendan. No problem at all.
That's why I think I think that could be realistic. Yeah. Do you think could happen, Wayne? Do you think Rodgers, or would you want him? Is he worth a gamble?
Well, I don't think so. I think, as I said, it'd be like for like nearly for Solskjaer, except it could. I think Rodgers plays better football in terms of he keeps his back line more tight. But going forward, can he take? It depends what the project is for United. Do they want to come in and have a manager that's going to stabilise the team and then go for someone further, like initially, or do they want someone that's going to come in now and change things going forward?
But can you change things? That's the question. When you look at the squad that you have, how can
Will Rodgers be able to come in and change that way?
Yeah. When you look at your midfield, what on paper, what's your best midfield? I don't. And are they going to give you 100%?
That's the question.
It's Pogba's looking for Madrid. You've got. I think Donny van de Beek is a very good player.
I do too.
And I think that every club manager looking to sign a player will hold Donny van de Beek up as a role model of what you don't do as a player. You don't go to the wrong club. They'll hold whenever someone is going in for Ryan Gravenberch or Jude Bellingham in the future, they'll hold up Donny van de Beek and say, look, this is what you don't do. You don't take the money.
Yeah.
You go for the right club, the right project. And look, down the line, that right project could be at Old Trafford. but under the right manager and the right tactics and the right philosophy. I cannot believe that Manchester United allowed Antonio Conte to go to Spurs when it was so clear what needed to happen. It was so sad, just on a human level now. It was so sad watching Ollie going to the fans yesterday saying, waving goodbye, and Bruno Fernandes there saying, I blame us, it's not him, blame us. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That, just on a human level, man, I mean, that guy loves Manchester United. His heart and soul is in Manchester United. He should never have had to go through that. And I think the reason he went through that is because he was talked up by the likes of Gary Neville and Sir Alex Ferguson so much that they decided to give him one last chance when it was just wrong. All of it was wrong.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, no, you're right there in the Kev. So, I suppose the last thing, look at, thanks for coming on tonight, Ryan, giving a bit of your take on it. Obviously, look, we're saying it's a bad day for you, but it could be a good day in the future. You know, we've finally made the decision and moved on. But I suppose, lads, we're all, I suppose, well, apart from United, we're happy enough yesterday. We scored 4, they conceded 4, we got 3 points. I suppose, what's next now for Liverpool, lads? We have a huge game coming up. Well, sorry, Porto with the dead rubber, really, isn't it? Making changes. But it's a game you don't want to lose momentum, and then it's away to Southampton.
Yeah.
To me, after getting that run yesterday, that bit of confidence, it's 2 wins out of 2. It has to be. But I do expect a host of changes for Wednesday night because we're 3:00 kickoff away to Southampton, which won't be easy and never is to them.
I don't know. Southampton lost to Norwich away, and they lost it. Yeah, it lost it in a way that was a bad loss. It was a bad way to lose. I don't think that Klopp has the flexibility to make as many changes as what people think.
Nope.
I think we'll make about 4 changes for Porto. The 5 sub rule is golden because he can play Sadio and Mo for an hour. He can play Taki. He can play. There's no problem with Konate coming in with Matip. Matip didn't go on international football, so he's fresh as a daisy. Kelleher can come in for Alisson, no bother. You know, see how Nico is. If he's fit, Nico plays. If not, Trent plays for an hour. And then you've got the young fella for Northern Ireland that can come in as cover as one of the right back subs.
Bradley.
Yeah, Conor Bradley. You know, you're right. I don't think he wants to lose. More importantly than anything, he'll want to go and win.
Did he say something about the money, Kev?
That's right, Fozi. I wanted to ask you, Fozi, about that. What the money, if you win a game in the Champions League group stage, whether it's a dead rugby or true or not, there's still a lot of money that club will revenue, which is a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that's in his mindset whatsoever.
You don't think so?
Nah, I think it's a throwaway comment to the press. Get off my back. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to you anymore. It keeps the meat out in the press for a while. I don't think Klopp thinks like that for 1 minute. But I guarantee you this: Mo Salah wants to play.
Yeah.
Sadio Mane wants to play. Jota's going to want to play against a Portuguese side. And
we don't need to win, Kev, though. We don't need to win, mate.
But you do want to win. That's the thing. Klopp was
right. Keep the momentum going.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
And the likes of Taki, I wouldn't mind. Do you know what I wouldn't mind? And I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see Taki play as an 8. I don't think he will. I'd love to see him play as one of the midfield 3 because I think he's got that creativity about him,
energy,
that buzz, that his link-up play is very good. But to do that, you'd have to play a front 3. Maybe if Divock is over his dead leg, he could come in instead of someone. You know.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the stats, him and Divock and Origi, and Minamino, they've done well when they played the season, albeit the League Cup, but they've got a bit of link up there together, and the confidence and momentum is good with them. So, like I said yesterday, I texted the WhatsApp group message, Minamino, come on, he's going to come on and be the ice in here. And about 20 seconds later, he did. So I obviously picked it up saying, look, I could see to the future. But I was only messing saying it but I just seen him, he has that bit of aggression and hunger, and it's last chance for him. And he's done okay so far.
It was great. Yeah. Positioning was brilliant for that because that was my favorite goal of the night.
Yeah.
You know,
it
was like a pure futsal goal. You know, pass, in around the back, cross, bang, goal. It was pure FIFA dirty goal. You know what I mean? That's the controller gets horsed against the wall.
Yeah, it's better than Pro Evolution. Absolutely, yeah. So Kev, we're going to wrap up now. You're on tonight, the LFC Day Tripper, 10 o'clock. That's
yeah,
where
10
everyone can
o'clock.
find you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That should be a good show. And Fozi, when are you on next on your channel, LFC Red Forever?
I'm gonna hopefully be on Monday, but it just depends on the missus' birthday. So yeah, but I'm gonna be at the Southampton game, by the way.
Happy birthday to Fozi's missus as well, by the way. We'll all give her a shout out there. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you, mate. I will be at the Southampton game. I'm going to go and watch the game. So that's my next project, hopefully.
Oh, brilliant. So you'll probably do a few a bit of content out of it, will you?
Yep, for LRFC, 100%. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'll tune into that. Thanks for coming on tonight, Fozi, Kev.
Worries,
and Ryan, I know you've even got some YouTube stuff going. Kev is from Cork. He'd know a bit about the League of Ireland. Ryan's a big Longford fan, Longford Town fan. Kev,
you know what? I don't watch
having a good time lately.
I don't watch it. I don't, because I live so far out of Cork. Like I live up in halfway between Cork and Limerick. It's a fair trek for me to get up to Turner's Cross. Get up there now and again.
Yeah,
but Limerick's actually closer because you can get the bus. And the ground is right next to the bus station, so I can probably get to Limerick City a bit easier than I can Cork. Like I just got to be very careful how I talk when I get up there.
I
get a bit queer about stuff like that, like, you know.
Yeah. And Roy needs to get a YouTube League of Ireland going. Get a bit of audience to it and bring a bit to the League of Ireland. That it's losing its soul massively, isn't it? And obviously with Longford gone down now, it's even more so.
Yeah, so I think they're struggling for cup final tickets out of 26,000. They thought they'd be a lot higher, but I don't see why. I know why they thought it, but at the same time, it hasn't been very high over the last number of years. Like,
but the other side of it is, lads, Stephen Kenny's got us. He's got me back watching again.
Good.
With the football, the way he's playing, the style of football that he's got the young lads playing at the minute.
Get him to United.
yeah. Surprised that wasn't brought up. Yeah. You can only do better.
I seen a Roddy Collins the United picture earlier. I had to just smile. It wasn't a bad humour, but we just smiled anyway.
Yeah.
It's amazing what snaps you out of it, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah. Well, lads, thanks for coming on this evening. It's a pleasure to get you on. It was really great. Fozi, big up to you. Thanks for coming on. And a short note, it was only something I said I'd put together. Obviously, with a bit of reaction from yesterday's game. There's a lot more I would have liked to go into, but we're time consuming for Sunday evening about yesterday's game because I thought it was a great result. I did do a little preview, a snippet of it myself on this channel, just kind of giving through a little review of it. But it was convincing. It was 4-0, clean sheet, 3 points. It's first game back after the international break, which was great to get going. We just need to keep the run, the momentum going. Need obviously a bit of luck along the way as well. And what I mean by a bit of luck is other teams around us dropping points and us staying luck with injuries, because that's something we've suffered with massively in the last couple of weeks. But we'll end it there. Everyone else enjoy the rest of your Sundays. We'll see Kev later on the LFC Day Trippers forward to it. Ryan will be back on, I'm sure, at some stage again soon. As after he has crunch talks with Roddy Collins and Fozi, we'll definitely get you on soon, Fozi, and everybody tune in to Fozi's channel. It's on the thumbnail here to this, and he'll be at Southampton on Saturday. Thanks all, lads, and take care. Have a good evening.
Thanks, lads.
Cheers. Good night.